Okay, so I'm sure all of you have committed at least one crime, be it like going 40 down to 30 on Malvern because why go slow when you can go faster? I have a story for you. When I was a kid, my love for someone could be quantified in Hot Wheels. Like I really love Hot Wheels. Like someone like I love you, Grandma, but you didn't give me a Hot Wheels, so. So I love Hot Wheels so much that when I was at the grocery store, I actually stole a Hot Wheel. How's that for edgy and cool, man? It's great. So I got to the car, and then I was like, oh wait, Mom, I forgot something. I felt too bad about stealing the thing, so I just gave it back. So, but what if that crime was something more serious? Maybe I was committing burglary at the age of 10. Or maybe instead of you guys going 40 down 30, maybe accidentally crash into someone and commit manslaughter. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So sorry. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Now, our prison system is supposed to help prevent against that. Like, the people who do make bigger crimes such as those, keep them in prison, hopefully reform them into better citizens so they don't reoffend those. Now, but that isn't the case. In the next few minutes, I'm going to discuss how our prison system is flawed by exposing that they are privately funded by corporations and how that is a detriment in comparison to being government founded and government run, and how they're there to make a profit. And I would also like to give one example of a prison that I think our prison should strive for in terms of behavior and approach. Now, 10 years ago, there was only 5 corporate prisons. But as of right now, there are 100 corporate prisons, according to globalresearch.com. Now, as we all know, it isn't typical for a company to accept a loss. So, and it's a lot of money to care for prisoners, like feeding them, cleaning them, providing recreational activities. But with the corporation and not being restricted by government ties and human rights activists, no, not human rights activists, but human rights laws, they can cut corners in order to make a bigger room for a bigger house for bigger people. Now, my second point is how they're made to make a profit. Now, corporations are there to make a profit, and if they're not there to make a profit, I have no idea what they're there for. I don't know how they're staying alive, but they're made to make a profit. So what happens when they go in control of the prison system, prison system? What's to stop them from making a profit there? According to Infowars.com, the nation's largest prison company, which is Correction Corporations of America, is offering to buy cash-strapped states to buy up the prisons at a cost savings. This seems great, right? Take the load off the government's back. Say, you can fund us for less money. But the requirement is that all of their prisons that they control must stay at 90% capacity. It always has to be that way, and if they go under 90%, they cut the deal and they say, you have to charge us more now. Now, why would it matter to them? Why would having more people in a prison matter to them? Now, the state pays the prison based on how many people are inside the prison. So more people equals more money. Now, a prison's supposed to reduce crime rate, right? Keep them out of the streets so they don't happen again. And so what happens if the crime rate population goes down 90%, like they're supposed to reform citizens and all that? The government's answer to this is harsher sentences for smaller crimes, such as a 3-strike law or a truth in sentencing, where the 3-strike law, if you have 3 or more sentences of the same offense, you get put until 25 to life. And truth in sentencing means that we're committing to it. We're not going to change it. You're not going to go on parole or something like that. Those were the type of truth and sentencing laws. Now, a good example of this is a story I found on the Huffington Post. It's called the Kids for Cash Scandal. In Pennsylvania in 2009, for 10 years, Mid-Atlantic Youth Service Corporation, which specialized in prisons for juvenile delinquents, paid 2 judges to jail youths and send them to private prison facilities of their employ. The judges made over 2.6 million in the scam, and had more than 5,000 go through the courtrooms, and many of them got sent to jail for petty crimes, such as stealing a DVD from Walmart, or trespassing on private property, or trespassing on private abandoned property, or things of that nature. Now, because of the 3 strike laws and the 3 strike laws and the truth and sentencing laws, we have a 43% reoffense rate, and we have a population, the world's jail population of 25%. Now, I want to bring attention to a controversial prison in Norway. It's called Baskoid. Their approach to prison lifestyle is very different. They got rid of cells. They got rid of they got rid of cells. They got rid of like harsh punishments. Their whole idea is to treat prisoners like people, and like they give the people the lives of a normal person would have, but like cut social contact outside. They cut their political activism. So they're basically getting what they would outside of a prison, but with minus like social liberties. Like they can get a TV. They can get a TV if they only bring it outside. If not, then too well. Oh well. Now, because of this, they have a reoffense rate of 16%. And the country's overall of Norway is 22%. Now compare that to our 45%. What's happening over there that we're doing wrong? Why are a lot of their prisoners, once they get into jail, they stop? Now, hopefully I brought to light the flaws in our prison system through how they're privately funded, how they're made to make profit, and hopefully I made you understand the example I gave. So instead of just punishing prisoners, maybe we should reform them into better citizens so they don't do it again, like prisons are supposed to. Thank you.
Patrick, share your thoughts, please.
It was good. He built his points towards his overall argument, and he cited his sources well. A couple areas of improvement, I'd say. He kind of vocalized pause. He would repeat the same point a couple times, and then he finally got the next one out. His intro, he could have just started with the story, and that's about it.
All right, well, I thought you had a pretty good attention device, and it tells us generally what the topic is. It takes a while to get to the point, and I think you need to be there a little bit faster than you are going. But it was an interesting way to kind of pull us in on this. I think you want to relate it to your argument later on, though, that shows that minor offenses, for instance, could be treated as major offenses, and that would be problematic, and that's sort of the direction that you think that the prison system is going in. I think you need a stronger argument on that. The argument about, well, there's a structure. You do tell us how you've got it structured, so there's some signposting there, and you label those points as you go along. Your criticism of the private prisons, for instance, I'm still not quite clear on what is problematic with those private prisons. You say that they don't have to observe human rights rules. I don't have any evidence that suggests that's true. The fact is that they are standing in the place of the government and providing those services. That doesn't mean that they get to lock prisoners in closets or deny them food, the prisoners still have their constitutional rights. So the question is, what is it that the private prisons are going to do that you see as being problematic? And I didn't hear anything except that generic claim, and there's no proof on that particular claim. So that seems to me to be sort of a hollow argument. The notion that there's a profit motive, and it's not so much that there's a profit motive. That's not what it seems like your argument is. It seems like your argument is that the profit motive is going to result in exploitation of prisoners in some way. For instance, because they might have a contract that requires that it be at 90% capacity, that if it fell below 90% capacity, the state would have to change the rate at which they're paying for the prisoners. And it seems like your suggestion is if that were to happen, what the state would do is go out and just find more prisoners to put in the prisons. And I think that you could make that argument, but it needs to be a lot stronger. The one thing that you had that was, I thought, a good illustration of that point is this scam that you mentioned that was going on in Pennsylvania, where there was a private prison that was paying off judges to divert kids into their system. By the way, the context in which you described that makes it sound like it was a criminal activity that they got in trouble for. So this is maybe a potential risk, but of course if it's illegal, then it's not really something that's part of the existing system. It's part of something that falls outside of the system, and maybe that ought to be addressed separately. If you want to make the argument that private prisons and the profit motive are a bad thing for the criminal justice system, I think you need a lot more than what you've got here. Also the argument about changing the way the prisons functions. This might make the Gesundheit. This might make a better argument on its own, making a suggestion that says that the prison system needs to be retooled in some way so that it works more on trying to reform and reduce recidivism or recommit rates, as you refer to them, and arguing that this system that they're using in Norway has these particular benefits. However, the description of what you've given me, I'm not exactly sure why that would account for the difference. You say that there's a statistical difference, but I don't know that the statistical difference is attributable to the particular prison that you're talking about. You're making a huge inferential leap there that I don't think is sustained by the information they have. I mean, the fact that they have TVs in their cells, or that they don't have cells, I should say, that means that they're only going to commit crimes half as often as they would have otherwise if they were in the United States. I'm having a hard time buying that. There are probably a lot of good reasons why the United States has a higher recidivism rate than these other countries do, but whether or not there are whether or not there are cells, or that they've got TVs in the prison, seems to me like to be a minimal part of that process. So you'd have to develop that a lot more. And like I said, I think there's a good potential argument here, but it's not really built up consistently because you spent all the time on those other issues. I think you do a pretty good job delivering. I think you've got good vocal enthusiasm at the beginning. I didn't notice the hesitations as much as maybe Patrick did. Your eye contact's generally solid. Your gestures, I think you seem engaged in the process. So you're doing a pretty good job on the presentation part, but the content feels really underdeveloped. All right. Thank you.